Let's get started with our first big news. Khamzat still has plans of becoming a triple champion, and yes, he's very serious about it. This isn't just a passing thought or a soundbite for headlines, it's something he's actively thinking about and working toward. In a recent interview with ESPN MMA, the middleweight title challenger opened up about his long-term vision and revealed that he's already considering moves outside of his current division. The plan? Well, Khamzat is looking in two very different directions. On one hand, there's the possibility of dropping all the way back down to welterweight, where he could face the winner of Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. On the other hand, there's the far more physically demanding path moving up to light heavyweight to challenge the winner of the Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira rematch. Either way, these aren't just random fantasy matchups, these are real tangible goals that Khamzat believes he can make happen. He explained that a big part of this renewed ambition comes from working with his new coach, Coach Carl. The two have been seriously talking about the logistics of making the welterweight cut again. I talked to him about going back to my first fights. 170 or 75? Well, 170, Khamzat said. He said, give me a couple of months and we're gonna make it happen. That's not the kind of statement you make unless you truly believe it's possible. Cutting to 70 pounds is never easy for a fighter his size, but the fact that his team is confident enough to even plan for it shows how focused he is on this goal. When asked who the champion might be in that division when the time comes, Khamzat admitted he wasn't completely sure, but he remembered it's the Australian guy, referring to Jack Della Maddalena. Without hesitation, Khamzat added, would be a good fight for me, go down, fight with him as well. Could take the belt there. The way he says it is casual, almost like it's just another day at the office. But make no mistake, that's a high-risk, high-reward fight that would draw massive attention. And he's not stopping there. Khamzat also said that if he decided to go in the opposite direction, up to light heavyweight, there's Ankalaev and Alex Pereira, both preparing to face off again in their rematch. Whoever wins, Khamzat explained, can fight for that belt as well. That would be a whole new challenge for him, not only in terms of skill, but in adjusting to the power and size of the 205-pound division. Still, if anyone has shown they can rise to a challenge like that, it's Khamzat. The idea of holding gold in 3 different weight classes might sound impossible to some, but for Khamzat, it's the definition of greatness. He's already proven that he can dominate at multiple weights. Now he wants to take that reputation and push it to the absolute limit, and if history has taught us anything, it's that when Khamzat sets his sights on something, he moves forward with relentless determination. Let's move to the next news, and this one is huge for Brazilian MMA fans. Charles Oliveira has officially announced his next fight, and it's a quick turnaround that has everyone talking. UFC Rio now has its main event set. Oliveira is scheduled to face Rafael Fiziev on October 11th, marking his first fight on home soil in more than 5 fairs. Yes, you heard that right. After all this time, Oliveira is returning to fight in Brazil. He broke the news himself on Instagram, making it clear that this is more than just another bout for him. It's about coming home and performing for his people. What makes this announcement even more surprising is how soon it comes after his last fight. Remember, just this past June, Oliveira suffered a tough knockout loss in the first round to Olia. For a lot of fighters, that kind of defeat might mean a long layoff, but Oliveira isn't built like most fighters. He's using this as fuel to come back stronger. In a recent interview with Thunderpick, Oliveira reflected on what went wrong in that fight against Ilya. He was brutally honest, saying his loss came down to trying to prove something he didn't need to prove. He explained, my reflection is simple. Sometimes we try to prove something we don't need to prove. I had trained a lot movement, calf kicks, 1-2s, takedown entries, combos leading to high kicks, all of it. But when the fight started, I just wanted to show off. I believed too much in my hands, in my knockout power. I kept waiting for the perfect moment to land. But he was way faster than me because I was standing there waiting for one shot. His game plan worked better than mine. It was his night. His timing was better. His punch landed before mine. He deserves all the respect in the world. It was his moment. Oliveira admitted that instead of sticking to the plan, he got caught up in trying to trade at the wrong time. He said, what should I have done? Moved. But I didn't. I didn't do anything I trained for. I just stood in front of him and paid the price. That kind of self-awareness is rare in fighters at the elite level, but Oliveira has never been afraid to take ownership of his mistakes. After the fight, he went home, stayed close to his family, and then got right back into training. He says there's still so much to prove, and this upcoming fight against Fiziev is just the beginning of that redemption. Fighting in Brazil, in front of his family, friends, and an entire nation is exactly the kind of motivation he thrives on. And make no mistake, Fiziev is no easy opponent. Known for his sharp striking speed and relentless pace, Fiziev presents a very different challenge, but Oliveira says his mindset right now is bulletproof. He doesn't care that this isn't a numbered card or a massive pay-per-view. For him, the energy of a home crowd, the roar of Brazilian fans, and the pride of representing his people are more valuable than anything else. When the cage door closes on October 11th, Oliveira believes nothing and no one will be able to stop him. Now let's move on to another piece of behind-the-scenes news, and this comes from Daniel Cormier. On a recent episode of the Good Guy Bad Guy show, DC shared some surprising details about Khamzat's situation ahead of UFC. He revealed that he actually received a phone call 2 months ago telling him Khamzat would likely be out of his upcoming title fight against Duplessis. That's right, long before any official news came out, DC had already been told to consider potential replacements. At the time, the information wasn't public, and it immediately raised questions about whether the fight was really going to happen. DC said the names that came up as possible stand-ins included the top welterweight from France in Borralho. But despite all that uncertainty, DC insists that behind the scenes, the plan never really changed. Even though people were talking about backup options, it was always expected that Khamzat would make the walk to the octagon. And now that we're only a week away from the fight, DC says that all the early doubts seem to have faded. Still, it's fascinating to hear how close things may have come to a completely different matchup, one that could have altered the course of the division entirely. For fans, this kind of story is a reminder that so much happens behind the scenes that we never get to see. Matchmaking in the UFC is complex. Injuries, negotiations, weight cuts, and other issues can change plans in an instant. The fact that DC knew about the potential shakeup 2 months ago just shows how fluid these situations can be. But here's the key takeaway: regardless of whatever hurdles were in the way, Khamzat is here, he's ready, and he's still chasing something huge. Whether it's winning at middleweight next week, dropping back down to welterweight for another belt, or moving up to light heavyweight to test himself against the very best, his ambitions are as big as they've ever been. This fight with Duplessis could be just the first chapter in what he hopes is a historic run, and if he pulls it off, we might very well see him making the kind of moves that could change the entire landscape of multiple divisions. The road ahead is going to be wild, and right now, all eyes are on what happens next.